Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. Woo, yeah. Welcome to the 82nd BostonVR Meetup. We've been going strong since 2014. And this talk is being recorded. It'll be posted eventually on the meeting site, the event page on meetup.com. The demos are going to be going on through the talks and until what, about 9:30?
Yep.
Yep. And then we're going to go drinking.
Yay, drinking!
Where? To Lucky, what is it? Lucky something.
Lucky Strip. We're going bowling.
Yeah, the bowling
Kings.
place next to
Kings.
Fenway. What?
Kings.
Kings.
Are you going bowling?
No.
No.
You can. I mean,
So,
it's a bowling alley, right? I have a slide for it at the end of this talk. So, first of all, thanks to Mike Festa of Free
Great.
He bought all the pizza, so stuff yourselves.
There's still a lot.
Yeah, we kind of have a little too much.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. A place like Berklee. Speaking of which, thank you, Berklee, and thank you, Lori, and the Immersive Tech Lab And you can connect to us online through Slack, Steam, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I think the Google groups, and our open Google group. You can also tune in to the Virtuality podcast at that URL. Jason Parks is involved in producing that, so you can talk to him about it. Little quick plug for the MedXR hackathon that is coalescing. If any of you have any interest in medical stuff, Shirley's heavily involved in that, so you can talk to her. Plug for Women in the Next Realities. They're a really great group doing a lot of excellent things. T-shirts, $15. We got them. Look at this. You are the cool kids. But if you want the world to know it, this is what you gotta do.
I'll take that into note.
Right? Please join us online by taking photos or videos of this event and upload it to the event page. And there'll be a recording. Tonight was brought to you by Gentle Moi. Jerry is our volunteer coordinator in the back. Jason is doing his Road to demo. He's a Berklee alum. He's also a board member of BostonVR. So his two worlds are colliding and making nice noises on each other. And our sponsors, Mike and Lori. And these are all the excellent people here at Berklee who are helping doing demos and thank you guys ever so much. Let's see, more events. Let's see. First, a little word. Actually, tell you what. The Brookline Interactive Group person. Where is she? Oh, hi. Could you come up and tell us about Brookline Interactive Group?
Yep. So Brookline Interactive Group is a community media company wanting to engage people into exploring virtual reality, giving them the space to do so. So there's a lab where you can come in on Wednesday nights and experience virtual reality, and they also often offer classes, so introduction to virtual reality and also basic editing, like in 360. And you can go to our website, BrooklineInteractive.org, and find out more about that there. And you can also become a member and get like a newsletter and what we're all about. Casey, you wanted to say something about the interns?
I'm also a volunteer there at Bellows. We have some flyers over here for internships, or come to me and talk to me for developers or production, or you're into grant writing, lots of different skills there.
So Brookline Interactive Group, Lori is a member of their board actually from a long time ago. And they have a lot of excellent XR equipment that's available in the evenings. It's reachable by the Green Line T. It's literally next to a Green Line stop. They also host the BostonVR Library of Equipment, which has 2 HoloLenses, a laptop, an Oculus Rift, and one other thing I can't remember. Yes.
We just got some Wests as well.
West?
Yeah.
Is that going into the Brookline Library?
Yeah, I believe so.
We
Okay.
also got 4 refs.
Okay.
I don't know.
refs?
It's at least 2.
Okay, great. So they can lend you equipment.
They're
Boston-
not quite in yet.
Okay.
But
BostonVR equipment, they also manage our library. So make use of it. And speaking,
Also
Oh.
a Berklee student.
a Berklee alum, excellent. This Saturday, we're going to have the monthly BostonVR Dev Jam. It's like a hackathon with no rules, no prizes, just fun. We get together and we make VR and AR all day long. And concurrently, and that's going to be from 10 in the morning till 6 at night. And then concurrently, from 10 to 2, Michael Donahue will be teaching a class on Unity. It's $100. It's an excellent introduction. He'll give you a lot of resources, links to everything you need to get started. He's a programmer and an artist, and I've worked with him for years, so that's a great opportunity. And you can sign up for this through the Boston VR Meetup page. So that's fun. The XR and Learning Global Summit will be October 28th, and we are going to be the after party. And a lot of the same exhibitors at the summit will be there. We also have a discount code that will get you into the summit all day for $100. And there's opportunities to get in for free as well, if you volunteer or ask me about it. November 12th is the next regular Boston VR meetup. IQ3 Connect, who've been friends for years, they basically kind of started with our group and grew up. They will be speaking about their work. And, Mike.
Right.
So.
Woo!
Yeah, no worries.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
this guy.
So without further ado, Mike Festa, I think I first met you at a Boston VR in 2015, and you were off in a
Back,
corner.
yeah.
He was off in a corner working on his VR demo, just like anybody else, and he was working at Wayfair.
Stream VR. Yeah, Stream VR was
Stream
the side
VR.
project for me. Yep.
So you could talk to your partner on the West Coast,
Yeah.
and he got Wayfair interested in VR, and then grew this enormous group within Wayfair, and now he started his own company.
These slides for me.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah. I'll just I'll look at you. All right. Hey everyone, thanks for having me. It's great to be back. I feel like it's been a little while as it kind of heads down, building out this kind of next adventure. But I'm excited to be here tonight and to kind of give people an update. We're slowly but surely kind of coming out of stealth mode. But yeah, let's go ahead. We're basically 3D content creation. We'll do, yeah, go ahead, you can do the next one. This is our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about the company, learn about, you know, the motivation, the process, what we're trying to do, some learning opportunities that we're trying to build out. We're going to talk about the artist logistics is around this artist platform that we're building, and we have some of our team members here. So these guys are going to be giving you a quick, 30 seconds to a minute, just kind of talking about the work that they're doing, and then we'll do Q&A. So why don't we go to the next slide? All right, so 3XR. So if you haven't tried out our demo yet, let's show a quick demo. You want to do the demo,
Oh,
Sam?
God.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to spring that on you. That's a little much.
The
All right,
PowerPoint was
so-
already on there.
No, but we're going to go over to the page. So this is 3xr.com. You can go there on your phones. The whole thing. All right, that's a bit loose. We'll see. We'll see.
Dongle tech.
Maybe unplug it and plug it back.
Yeah, I see the issue, Mike.
It's showing up here.
It is showing up there?
Apologies. Always tech demo.
Yes.
Double check the physical connection.
Yeah.
Wait, I did something.
All right, Sam, you stand there now.
Yeah, just wiggle it,
You
yeah.
like it? That's honestly what I did.
Wiggle it.
It's like, it's this connection.
It's working just great.
All right, I'm gonna put this back. And we're gonna just try to get the slides back up.
Someone once told me that. in-
Oh, it's over there.
All right.
Demo goes.
All right.
No.
Get this here. We'll stay on the presentation. All right, so if you haven't seen the demo,
We're gonna do the demo
we'll do the
afterwards.
demo afterwards in person. This is basically running on the web though. So again, if you have your phone, you go to 3xr.com and check out some of our, 15 or so sample models. The idea is that we believe, spatial computing is the future, and that there's going to be this kind of realization amongst brands that all of a sudden they have to go from having their traditional 2D e-commerce photography assets converted to 3D content. And so that was one of the challenges that I appreciated at Wayfair. We sold 10 million products, and we really needed to digitize all of them in order to enable the XR or AR experience on the mobile app in order for it to be compelling to users. Because it's nothing worse than seeing one product in AR and they're like, oh, how does that look with all these other products? And they're like, oh, none of them have any 3D available. So that's where a lot of these retailers find themselves today. And it's not just a Wayfair problem. Target's thinking about this, Walmart, Amazon. All the retailers are really interested in getting more 3D content, but brands are, they're not thinking about that. They don't realize that there's a huge conversion lift. And then, there are companies out there like Shopify that powers 800,000 e-commerce websites today that have been doing a lot of great internal testing and seeing these revenue multiples that they are saying this is going to be huge once people realize that 3D content accelerates your sales, multiples of conversion rate, they're going to want this. And there's no one out there that can do it at scale, so that's kind of what we're trying to build. Let's go to the next slide. This is our team. So a lot of these great people are here with us today. The only guy who's missing is Tucker, who is actually my StreamVR partner. And he's out on the West Coast right now. He kind of splits his time. And then Lauren Taylor, who's around the corner, is our COO, Chief Operating Officer. Lauren joins me from Wayfair as well. And I think on the next slide, we actually have a quick thing
No, on
about...
the next slide is we're learning where we are.
Okay, that's where we are. All right, that's fine. I think people, maybe we took them out. But anyway.
No, so we can also go through about us.
Is that you got? Let's go one more.
And then
There
this
we
is
go.
about us.
All right, we'll just jump around. Why not? Anyway, so you guys know me. Lauren's here. Tucker's in California. We've worked in a few of these spaces. Next slide about you guys. Are you going to hear from all 4 of these great artists? Everybody joined. Sam was our first person to join in May, so we really kind of started getting going really just 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And so it's been fun to see the the company kind of grow. Let's go back to the map just to show where we are. We are here in Wakefield, downtown. That is strategically about 2 minutes from my house, so that's part of the reason we're there. But it's also a great accessible area in the North Shore of Boston. Avoid the hour commute into the city, and 93 is there. We're right at the end of the Orange Line commuter bus, or we're on the commuter rail on the Haverhill line at the North Station. So anyway, for future opportunities, we're going to have a job pitch slide later in here, so just keep that in mind. That's where we are. Let's see, next slide. Yeah, sure. Let's talk a little bit more. So our goal is really to digitize the world. We want to turn every single thing that you have into a 3D digital counterpart. And in order to do that, we want to build a platform that scales. Because I think today's existing content creation studios, they've evolved out of the game and movie industries that typically have smaller projects. Even a big game like Grand Theft Auto is going to have a few thousand assets, but they're not going to have 10 million. And so the studios that exist today haven't been built with scale in mind, which is kind of what we're going after. Let's go ahead a little bit more. All right, team, yep, team, here we go, this one. So 3D workflow. So what is 3XR? What are we trying to do? We're essentially trying to build a platform, two-sided marketplace. On the one hand, we have brands, customers, they have lots of assets they want to convert. They may have different file formats. They might have CAD, they might have some 360 spin photography. It's getting more common. We can use tools like photogrammetry to turn that into a rich 3D model. They might have nothing, and they might just give us their website link and say, model this thing for me. Depending on the internal content, we're going to kind of price that based on how much work we think it's going to take. And we're going to apply our pre-processing algorithms on that. Basically packaging everything up so it's ready for an artist to grab. It'll be on a job board that's pre-priced, and as an artist, you're a freelancer. Take jobs when you want to work on them. It's first come, first serve, so there'll be a price up there. Maybe it's $25, maybe it's $40, $50, depending on the complexity of the model. There's a price. Whoever grabs it gets it for that price, and if no one picks it up, it keeps going up like a Dutch auction. So until that magic price point is hit and an artist is willing to do the work, that job's kind of out there. So the artist basically gets to use what we're calling 3XR Studio. It's a tool suite built on open source. We're using tools like Mushroom and Blender to basically glue all these things. So, as an artist, you can appreciate that there's a lot of redundant, monotonous tasks that you don't want to have to do. Renaming files, loading photos, setting up your cameras. We do a lot of that for you at the beginning. And then there's stuff at the end, optimizing for different devices or decimating for different, web versus VR. You don't have to do any of that either. So the artist is really just focusing on what they know how to do. And we're building out additional tools like material libraries, parts libraries, and other integrations into Blender that make it faster for artists to get the work done. Once they're done producing that content, it goes into a QA tool. We're building out kind of a peer review tool that enables us to have consistently high quality and ensure that the customer is getting the content that they're expecting, while also setting expectations for artists from the beginning. And then finally, we are hosting and distributing that content. There are a lot of really interesting partners out there. Obviously we know Wayfair because we've been working with them for a while, but we're in this 3D commerce group that's part of Cronus right now with most of these companies, and they're all kind of thinking about the same thing, like how do we push 3D content back to our brands, and how do we work with partners that we can trust their file formats and their content? Because each of them are working in slightly different either file extensions, or they have different texture, size, resolution goals, and so we can essentially be that middleman and say, like, we'll host your asset if you want to publish it on Snapchat for an ad, or in Google, or get it up on the Target site. We basically handle all that distribution, and so we're building out kind of a SaaS-based business model around that. So long story, that's the workflow. Oh yeah, go to the next page. So we'll talk a little bit about the creation process. These are some of our models that we've made. The two in the bottom are photogrammetry. We're using tools like Blender and Mushroom, both open source. Go to the next slide. So we're kind of thinking about this right now in two different approaches. There's the custom process and then photogrammetry. Custom is essentially you've got some reference images, you get dimensions, you're going to kind of work with that. We're trying to set some expectations around like what's the triangle count need to be, what are good UV layouts, what are the right textures to use. We want to set up like a PBR, so roughness, metallic, to make the asset look great. And so we're trying to build out tutorials and guides for artists to basically understand this workflow. And then next page, there's the photogrammetry workflow, which I think is really cool technology. It's still kind of emerging and it doesn't work well for all materials. Like it's hard to do glass, for example, or chrome shiny things. But for certain products, it works really well. And again, you check out our demos. We've got some cool photogrammetry things that we've scanned. And the interesting thing about photogrammetry is you get much more detailed models, but the workflow for the artist is generally much faster. If it comes out well from processing, you're usually just cleaning up artifacts, maybe doing little like texture painting touch-ups, little geometry or sculpting. And so we're trying to basically build out those two main workflows. Next slide. All right, learning opportunities. So again, like one of the core things about 3XR as a platform is we want to make this the number one destination for artists to spend their time. And so not just creating content and making money, but also upping their skills, learning new things. So we're building out tutorial content, we're building out different levels of progression and certification so artists can get more exclusive jobs over time. So as we have customers that are, essentially willing to pay more money, or they want, top-notch artists, they can basically get a smaller pool of artists, and those artists that qualify for that skill level get access to more lucrative jobs. Go to the next page. So now we're going to let the team just talk about some of the things that they've learned, and we'll do this kind of, rapid fire.
Sure,
ideally.
so I'm Sam, hi. So learning opportunities for me personally, going into 3XR, I actually had never had Blender experience, as most of the team actually. All of us were trained in like Autodesk Maya, Substance Painter, all the very expensive softwares that schools have the ability to give us while we're in school, but after we graduate, we lose that ability entirely. So it is very helpful to learn Blender, which is one of those things. I had a conversation with someone out there of how Blender used to be known as like the hobbyist, like gross 3D software because it was free and no one used it. But now with the new 2.8 update, it's now entirely more usable, and if not even comparable to Maya and all those softwares, especially since it's now having tabs that mesh in with like ZBrush, mesh in with like pipelines from Substance Painter and all that, for you guys to know that. And then, in terms of generally speaking, 3XR has very good learning opportunities for me personally to solve problems quickly. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to model a box in Maya. Oftentimes that would take me maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on how complex the box is. But with our new strategies at 3XR, that box over there took me probably less than half an hour to build, and it looks pretty good if I don't say so myself. Which is why custom box texturing is pretty cool. And also just learning opportunities generally, making photorealistic models is always a good skill to have, especially since they end up looking pretty cool with our process. So likewise, with just speeding up the process there, that couch definitely took me in school in Maya, it would probably take me maybe more than a day's work, maybe a day and a half, 2 days, let's say. With Blender, that's definitely less than half a day's work. So one of those things that we learn at 3XR is just sort of better techniques to, on this open source software, learn how to just make models in a more efficient way for my time and everyone's time in general.
Nice. Cool. Bert, you're up.
Hey everyone, my name's Bert. At 3XR, prior to coming here, I was jumping between 7+ different types of software, anywhere from Houdini, Substance Painter, like Sam mentioned, you're jumping around all these software. And part of the benefits of working at 3XR is that it helps you to be a lot more flexible, and it helps you learn and stay within one program, which is really great because it doesn't, confuse you if you're trying to jump between all these different software. You can stay within one program and try to get a lot done as possible. My history with 3D has been everywhere from like motion graphics, animation, and all that kind of stuff where you're trying to create things that are optimized for AR. And Blender, which works in the modifier system, allows you to do these things really quickly and iterate tons of models at once. So something like this angel mushroom that you see here, for example, when we scanned it, we got like 20% of that model actually like as a solid mesh. So what I had to do is, chop it up and find ways that I can salvage it and then create a game-ready, essentially AR-ready version of it so that we can actually visualize it and see it in AR. So the benefit of Blender and the benefit of working at 3XR is it allows me to be flexible, creative, and use critical thinking to actually create these assets very quickly and efficiently. And you can see how that's useful if you're going to be working on the platform, because if it takes you about an hour to do it, you're making X amount of money for that hour, and you can churn out as many assets as you can, because we at 3XR believe in preparing you for success. So if we give you all these tools to begin with, and with Mike's wizardry, we can do all these kinds of things for our artists so they have an easier time building these models. It's a really great thing to jump into Blender. It took me about a week to learn Blender coming from Maya and Houdini and Substance Designer and Substance Painter. So that's one thing that really benefited me coming into 3XR.
Yeah, and a quick plug for this model that Bert did. There's this open source tool called Make Human, if anyone's ever heard of that, where you can basically get humanoids and pose them. And Bert was like, hey, what if I just take a Make Human arm and pose it and then chop it off and blend it in with this mesh?
Yeah.
It worked out really well.
It worked out pretty well. We had to basically go into this open source software, which I used for previous projects in the past, which you use it just as a base mesh, and then you kind of sculpt on top of the base mesh to create some sort of character. And in Make Human, you could choose different poses. So I picked a pose where this guy's kind of like this or whatever, and then I just chop off his arm, and then the leg, this girl's kind of bent down like that, so I just chop off the leg and then put it all together, and we kind of just hacked it together to create, which was the angel mushroom, and all we had was the imagery and the broken mesh pretty much, because it was 20% and we had to get it to 100% to actually put it on the AR platform. So that took me around a day and a half because that was me in the beginner stages, but now this would take me about half a day. So, you know, you see your progression kind of, your skill level just go up, and that's what we do at 3XR, is just kind of grow within our own pipeline.
I think chopping up the angel mushroom is probably a metaphor for startups generally.
Yeah.
Okay, Lauren.
So I'm Lauren. There's two Laurens on the team, so don't be confused. I'm actually the newest member. I started in August. My story is pretty similar to everybody else. I didn't know Blender at all coming in, and it's great to have a program that is kind of an all-in-one where you don't have to jump around, and I don't have to be like, oh wait, how do I, what are the controls of ZBrush again? Because it's all the same in Blender. So yeah, and because it's open source, there's new plugins all the time from, a whole bunch of different creators, and because we have Mike on the team, I can be like, hey Mike, there was this cool thing in Substance Painter that we can't do in Blender, and he might be able to come up with something. Yeah, I feel like my story is pretty similar to the rest, so I'll just pass it on.
Yeah, I don't want to keep plugging Blender, I guess, but it is really good. Honestly, I'm still learning things because it's just capable of so much. But usually, like, if you have it in your mind, like, I know I could do this in Maya, or I know I could do this in Substance Painter, you could probably do it in Blender. So it's pretty cool because Blender is free. But anyway, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, so I've learned a lot about the photogrammetry process, and like, I put like the picture of that donut just because that was like something that I was able to do in a half an hour, because I don't know, you guys probably are a little familiar with photogrammetry by now, like 72 pictures around it, gave me a really good texture. All I really had to do was like clone stamp spots that didn't come out well. And then even for things that you can't get a very good photogrammetry model, like this Monaru, for example, which part of the reason is because we don't have one in the studio, so we couldn't just throw it up on the turntable. But I was able to create a really good texture for the material parts, like this, and then the foam balls, by actually using photos that they posted on the website themselves. So pretty cool. And that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, team. Let's give a team around of applause. So we're hiring. So this is kind of our quick plug on, how can you guys get involved. We're a team 7 right now. We're looking to double in the next couple months. We're VC funded, so we've got some money in the bank and customers starting to pay us. So we're excited to build and grow the team. I'm currently the sole software engineer. I'm looking forward to having a team of engineers now to help see out our vision.
Someone help this
so if yourself or anyone you know might be interested in a cool startup opportunity, we're doing either full stack web development, Blender, Python scripting, shell scripting. Like, we're kind of playing in those worlds right now. We're looking for business development, so we're trying to build out our sales and marketing team. And then 3D artists. So we've got this alpha platform that I kind of alluded to, that we're basically building a platform for a community of artists. And our vision is, right now we have 10 people on this platform. We launched it like 3 weeks ago. By the end of the year, we're hoping to have about 50. So we're going to be doing cohorts of, 10, 15 folks every month for the rest of the year as we're starting to, basically build out these alpha features. And so, there is this, I guess when you're building a product, you always want to kind of polish it as much as possible. And Reid Hoffman once said, if you're not embarrassed by your first project or your first product, you waited too long. In this case, we have not waited too long. So on some levels, I'm a little embarrassed about where it's at. But at the other time, that's how we're going to learn it, how we're going to build. And so we're looking for more artists to join us on the platform. It's a paid opportunity. We're basically going to start off by doing a workshop in a couple weeks. It'll be like a 2-hour Zoom meeting, and if you can make it live, great. If not, we're going to record it. So there's a sign-up sheet around here somewhere. See us, see Lauren, take a flyer. We're basically launching that second cohort in the next couple weeks, and then our goal is to kind of test things out, build out the core features. Next year, maybe mid-year or so, we want to start really ramping it up. Our current vision is to get 1,000 or so artists on the platform a year from now. Within 3 years, we're thinking 20,000. So our goal is to really scale out and be able to handle, hundreds of thousands of models per month. Anyway, so this is a unique opportunity to be on the ground level of something that we hope is going to be a new revolutionary platform. I think 3D content's in a similar space. where there are artists out there that are making content. They've been doing it for game design or VFX, but it's not really a career field per se, and we want to turn XR content creation into its own kind of category. And so we're excited to build out a training platform for that and a support structure that you can get paid to get work done while learning and building a portfolio. So I think that's on the Q&A. Yep, so we'll open up to audience questions. Just got a burning question. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how did you get the idea to create this platform?
That's a good question. So I've been, in this space for a while, as Jeff mentioned. Like I've always had kind of a passion for VR, AR tech, and so when I had the opportunity at Wayfair Next to kind of use this in a commercial environment, I wasn't initially expecting that the content would be the bottleneck. I was thinking it was more the technology or the user adoption or AR tracking. That's pretty hard. So it seemed like those were the real hard problems, and I think industries probably agreed and they focused on solving those problems. But I was becoming, more and more aware of the content creation bottleneck, again, in this role at Wayfair, and seeing that it wasn't just a problem that we were having. Like, across the industry, people were struggling with an affordable way to create 3D content and to do it consistently with, reliable quality. And so, just thinking about the general state of the gig economy these days with, people taking Uber jobs to kind of make some extra money, that's not really benefiting them per se. But if you're an artist and, you're looking to keep your lifestyle to not be tied to a 9-to-5 job. You want to be able to do some, creative painting perhaps, but you also know some 3D design. I thought, this could be a great platform for people to be able to make some extra money while also building out a relative skill set that would allow them to either, use that portfolio to get a full-time job if that's what they want, or potentially to use this as a great way to, source their income while making their own flexible schedule. Yeah.
How's this position in relation to Unity Store or other places where people can offer 3D models?
Yeah, so there are a good amount of content marketplaces out there, like a SketchUp, Sketchfab rather, TurboSquid, the Unity Asset Store. And the thing that we're doing is kind of the inverse. So in that case where the marketplace, you've made some content for personal projects, something you're passionate about, whatever, and you put it up online and see if someone's going to buy it. You might have spent, 100 hours modeling some Ferrari and you're going to sell it for $500 because it's amazing, and then no one buys it. And you go to your backyard and you scan some rocks and 1,000 people bought it for $2 and you're like, wow, I made some money. Those marketplaces I feel like are very hit or miss like that. It's hard to know what your time is actually worth. And then other platforms like a Fiverr or an Upwork, where it's it's a gig economy where you can get a contract, but it's not a guaranteed contract. You end up, as we talk to artists, there's a lot of frustration around the process. Like you spend a lot of time vying for a contract only to get underbid at the last moment, or there's a process that takes a month before you even know if you get the job. And so we wanted to kind of cut that out and make it easier so that you're getting paid X amount of money to do this amount of work, and then you can put it on your portfolio, you can use it for your own kind of personal use case, and hopefully have fun and learn at the same time. So I think that's how we kind of differ. But generally those competitors are starting to move into this space. We're seeing companies like CG Trader starting to put out products that look somewhat similar. We think ultimately we're going to win because we understand the retail needs, because that's kind of our background and our knowledge space. And then, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're building out the best use of an artist's time. And so I think naturally we're going to have competition. We're going to see other players migrating to this space. And our hope is to always stay ahead of the curve and always be the best place for artists to spend their time. Yeah, Jeff?
How do you do time and cost estimation on a model request if your customer has no idea what a front map is?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Now we're working with customers in the early stage, so it's very direct, and we can talk to a customer around what their content generally kind of buckets into. And as we go forward into the kind of future state of the website, we want to make it more self-service. And I think part of that is going to be having a large volume of experience, so knowing how much X amount of models that are potentially comps that we could potentially even pull out of machine vision and say here's a bunch of products that would cost you X amount of money. This is an easy thing. This is hard. This is whatever. So we can give a better pricing estimate. We're also still in the early phases of building out our pricing model. So ultimately, we want to be more of a SaaS-based subscription service, and the real value that customers are coming back to us monthly for is the hosting, distribution, and management of the content. So the creation process is kind of an upfront cost that we would more or less probably absorb and assume. And then on the other side of things for the artists, I mentioned kind of that Dutch auction concept where the price is kind of something that either an algorithm eventually or initially our humans, our art team kind of goes in and says like, let's price this for this amount. If no one's picking up those jobs, the price will go up, so we'll learn from that. And then over time, as we have a large amount of comparable products that have been priced in the past, our algorithms should get better and better. And then over time, as the amount of effort it takes to create those models goes down, the cost should go down as well. So ideally for the artists, they're making more money per hour, but they're cranking out more models, and therefore we can reduce the cost for our customers. So that's kind of the long-term pricing strategy, but it is one of those things that, you know, at the moment we have to kind of look at and think like, okay, how much work, like we send these guys spreadsheets of things a lot that's like, so what would it take to model this thing? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't have no idea. And then like 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, I think it would be this amount of time. And so we're still working through that. It's an industry-wide challenge though, especially from a customer standpoint. And so we try to do like bulk pricing. So if we know a customer has this category of product, we'll say, oh, this product's gonna be X amount of money for this general class of product. Yeah, Jim.
Who retains the copyrights over these models? And let's say you wanted to remaster some base asset that you put together and then kind of, you know, polish into 5-10 different final models.
Yeah,
what's the legality
it's a
around
great
that?
question, and it's an evolving space right now from a legal standpoint. There's actually a whole host of interesting issues around like copyright in general. Like if you 3D scan a statue in a museum, how much do you own of that 3D model, right? Can you go 3D print it? Can you sell those 3D prints? And I think it's like an unknown industry thing right now. It's kind of like the early days of MP3s. Like, you know, people kind of knew it was like a gray area, and you know, that was, I would say, closer to being illegal, and I'm thinking this is a little bit closer to being legal. Our hope is to work closely with the brands to understand what their the existing copyrights are around their trademarks and, you know, ownership of that thing. And ideally, like, we want to retain the rights in 3XR to reuse that content. So like remixing, for example, we want to build out a component library so that if we're making models that share like casters from this thing, we can reuse those parts so that artists are able to kind of create with that. So I think like there isn't a solid answer for that yet, but it is something that we're actively monitoring and hoping to make as, you know, open and shareable as possible.
What about the end game? What do you do when you have everything?
One of the things that I've been thinking about recently that I think could be pretty cool once, you know, spatial computing is a thing is to essentially have like a Netflix for art or decor. So you think about like, you know, Christmas decorations or Halloween decorations, like, I don't know about you guys, but my wife loves collecting that stuff, and we've got an attic full of boxes of decorations from each of the seasons. And, you know, eventually that stuff's gonna be in a landfill somewhere, and, you know, what if it was a digital subscription so that, you know, this year instead of buying, you know, a $200 crazy thing at Home Depot, you buy you rent a digital thing for like $5, and all the kids that come up to your house, they're, you know, spatial computing is going to sense that and download it, and you're going to have that model, right? So I envision a world where we can bring content together like that. And so maybe there's some, you know, whatever subscription model where you can change up digital content, DLC for life, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have like any integrations with Unity or Unreal Engine that allows a user to just browse your 3D models and see them right
and then drop them in? So not yet, but that's definitely on our roadmap. Once we get some more engineers and developers, we want to have a Unity integration. The great thing is our content's already essentially optimized for game engines, and it's just a matter of, I guess, getting connected with the Unity store and making it easy to drag and drop like assets from our digital management platform into games. And so that's, yeah, definitely something we'll have, it's just not live yet. All right, do we have time for another question, or all right, get in the axe with.
Are you going to be looking at opening up 3D photogrammetry stations as the for an inlet for new content?
Yeah, I don't think we will, because the logistics around that is fairly complex, but we will partner with companies. So if anyone's thinking about making a photogrammetry studio, talk to us, because we'd love to have more inbound content.
You should look at MIT's new Immersion Lab, which is opening in January, which has a full body 3D photogrammetry station, as well as, I think they have 8 of the new Vives networked together with a full room scale VR experience.
It's awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. All right. Do you guys have one similar thing coming too?
I have one more question. No, what about audio?
Great question. So like, we're not doing audio yet. However, one of the things we talked about in this Cronus organization in our last meetup was how do we do advanced material properties, right? So like, if you tap on a model, what are the acoustic properties of that, and how can you leverage the 3D geometry as well as the 2D surface to play that back to a customer? So it's on our horizon, but it's like a little bit further out. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting, application, I would say.
That's solid oak.
Yeah.
Your marketplace could work for sonic assets.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need the sound of a car engine.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the people coming to your platform are doing XR. They're going to need sound design.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great reminder and plug for that.
You're in the right place.
Yes, definitely. And we're looking to build our partnerships with local universities, so appreciate that. All right, great. Everyone back there.
Back to copyright, whether the artist's work is considered work for hire or not.
Yeah.
How do you plan to relate that to quality control?
That's a good question. So QC right now is going through our team so that we can provide, accurate feedback and give people a starting point to understand what the expectations are. I see it evolving into like a peer-reviewed type of network effect where, in order to get approved, you need, X number of points. And so maybe a senior artist like Sam maybe gets you 5 points. So you need like 2 Sams, or you need like, 4 other people that like have 3 points each or something. So like, that's evolving. We're still trying to figure it out, but we want to try to have some type of, essentially peer review so that we're holding the bar. We're also doing some automated QA checks too, just kind of simple, basic things that we can test before even allowing the artist to submit the model. Make sure the scale is right, etc. Great. All right. I know you get back. You get back to this, so I'll be around the rest of the night.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. There we go. All right.
No, don't turn on one.
Takes a second.
There we go. All right. So Demo Fest will go on for another hour. But first, 10 minutes to introduce them to you. Row 2.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I would love to start off with our video. I left the computer I wanted to show the new trailer on in the demo room, so we'll do it right off the website.
Awesome. Got sound?
I'll just go straight to YouTube. Do we have sound?
There's a cable to plug.
We have audio. There we go.
Playing a trick on you, Jason.
First, I just want to mention that I was up here while a student, probably a freshman. I had helped run and eventually ran the film scoring network here at Berklee, and I was here in 2008. So it's pretty awesome to be back in the exact same spot.
And nothing's killed you yet.
Nothing at all. Though I cannot seem to do anything.
Use the mouse.
Oh, that would probably help.
So it's, yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
it is already having trouble here, right? So.
I mean, you could make the dramatic background noises yourself. But
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That'd be fun.
Good old Berklee internet.
Yeah. And your sound. Let's see.
Turn up the volume.
And isn't it weird that it won't let me
Theater mode and then
full
try-
screen? Look.
That's weird.
When has that ever happened?
Press the button next to
Oh.
the screen.
Try theater.
Theater mode? Good
Wow.
point. Nothing.
Oh.
Have you tried restarting your computer?
You know what?
Command
Here, yeah. I'll just mention a little bit. Who here has heard of Rhythm of the Universe or Road to Entertainment? So a lot of you. So I'm talking to the choir here. But for those of you who don't know who we are a Boston-based VR content developer, and we are right now creating a game based around what we call music mythology. So we're turning instruments, music theory, everything that encompasses music, and we turn that into lands, people, ecosystems, game mechanics, storyline arc. It's a giant world based around music. You can think of it as like a big musical Harry Potter. The game is a lot like, actually, let me get another raise of hand. Who here has played Vader Immortal? On the Quest or the Rift, right? A few of you. So there is a new form of storytelling that is being created in gameplay in VR, and they're calling it story living. And what our game will be, and is right now in alpha, is the ability to experience the world around you, involve yourself with the dialogue and the narrative and the storyline behind you, and then be able to interact with your... Well, you know, I'm just getting interrupted by my own video. But ultimately, creating an experience where we bring music to life in a way that you've never seen before. If you don't mind giving a little play. Yeah.
I remember my mother's chants. She was singing of a time when people would march and dance in unity. She sang many songs, my mother. And every song had a beginning and an end, just like our lives.
To be mindful of the time, since we just took a little moment, I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk more about this in room, I already forgot what it is. 127. 127. You'll see a giant Road 2 sign outside of it, so you can't miss it. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time.
I just wanted to say that while I play Road 2, it feels very solid and very real because the sounds are exquisitely synchronized with the visuals. That puts it head and shoulders over 90% of what's out there. Thank you. So there. Let's see if I can. Let's see. So we have slideshow. Play from.
I mess it up.
No.
Left.
The left.
Play from Kirk's.
That's it. No. There we go. I'll just do it that way. Okay. So so that was row 2. In room 126, VR sculpting by Lee at Red Accordion Studios. It's really fascinating. Gregory Osborne in room 23 is doing his beats per motion demonstration. John Joseph is, I think he was doing it out in the hall here. He's got an Oculus Go and he has this walking experience. Shirley Gerton in room 124 is doing showing you her VR. And there's Alan Foster is, where's Alan?
Over here, hiding in the dark.
Okay, yes. He has a HoloLens, so if you've never experienced it, go to him. It's great. And Mike Festa is walking around with his iPad. Have I missed any demos? Yes.
I'm looking for beta testers for the Go, the Vive, and the Rift. If you guys have that stuff, my email's on that slide, but you can talk to me too.
Yes, absolutely. The Oculus Go, the sound is remarkably good on that thing with those speakers that are hidden in the head strap. So I recommend it. If you like these events, we need help producing them. If you want to help us with marketing, we could use event hosts, like someone who's doing what I'm doing. You could just be our MC for one evening. November, we have IQ3. December's wide open. If you have any ideas, let us know. And January, we're doing something with UMass Boston. Let's see. And at 9, so we demo until 9:30, and then we drink. So I'll just leave this slide up for now. All right? Thank you all for coming.